you talk a lot about the Ferguson Effect. Tell us exactly what you mean by that.
Well, the Ferguson Effect is the twin phenomenon of officers backing off of proactive policing and the resulting increase in crime. Last year, we had the largest one-year increase in homicide in nearly a half century. The vast majority of the victims of that homicide increase have been Black. The reason for this crime increase, I believe, is that officers are living today under a false and dangerous narrative that says that they are shot through with systemic racism, that we're living through an epidemic of racially biased police shootings, and that the type of proactive policing that I think is responsible for a 20-year crime decline that this nation has enjoyed is under attack as racially oppressive. And by proactive policing, what I mean, Doug, is the vast universe of discretionary activities that officers can but do not have to engage in based on their knowledge of criminal behavior and observation on the street. Above all, pedestrian stops, what's known as stop, question, and frisk, and low-level public order enforcement, otherwise known as broken windows policing. Cops are doing much less of that in inner city areas.
Yeah, so it's a combination of both the policing practice and then also the other issue that you talk some about in the book, that is some call mass incarceration or just mandatory sentencing, but more harsh sentences in one respect or another. And so your contention is, though, that now, as a result of these controversies over the past couple of years, that police officers are not engaging in the level of intimate policing and discretionary policing that was so effective before. But what do we really know about, particularly over a sustained period of time? I mean, is there strong evidence that correlates the spike, this immediate spike in homicides in Chicago, for instance? Do we know how that correlates specifically to a change in police practices?
There was a study done in 2005, an economist at the University of Washington looking at the police riots in Cincinnati in 2001. And the economist found a clear correlation between officers backing off of that proactive, discretionary type of policing and a rise in felony crime. Chicago is, as you suggest, Doug, the primary example of what I've called the Ferguson effect. Last year, as crime was starting this very, very worrisome increase, U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch called an emergency meeting in Washington in October of big city mayors, police chiefs, and U.S. attorneys from across the country to discuss this crime increase. Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, came, and he told the participants that Chicago cops, as he said, had gone fetal, and they were less likely to interdict criminal behavior. That was 2015, when cops were already in Chicago reacting to this false narrative. This year, on top of last year's back off and depolicing, pedestrian stops in Chicago are down 82%. Homicides and non-fatal shootings are up nearly 50%. Again, you cannot talk to an officer. I was in Chicago in June. An officer said he has never experienced so much hatred on the streets in his 19 years on the job. He said it's basically an undoable job now.